Hey, we've got a problem here.
So, what's the plan?
What's your plan?
What are your plans?
What's the plan?
What's the plan?
What's your plan?
What's your plan of action?
Plan.
What's the plan?
So, what is the plan?
Wait, I have a plan.
I have a plan.
I have a plan.
That's the plan.
I have a plan here.
This plan's gonna work.
Master Plan, Phase 1, Side A.
I love everything about your plan.
भाई इससे कहते हैं planning.
What's it say?
Well, it says, I love it when a plan comes together.
G'day, Holly, and everybody. Welcome to 2019 Young Person's Plan for the Planet. We're back again.
We are. Another year, raring to go.
Another year, and you realise it's 2 years since we actually kicked off.
It feels like it's gone fast, hasn't it?
I know, we started with Australia. Last year we were joined by Mauritius, and this year we've got India, Singapore, and probably a couple of other countries joining us.
That's exciting.
So we'd like to welcome all of the students from India, Singapore, Mauritius, and Australia to today's program, where we're going to be talking about some of the work that the students have already done on delivering the SDGs, how the program's going to work this year, and also we've got a couple of very special guests.
We do. Looking forward to hearing from everyone.
Absolutely. And our first one is Graham Durant. But before we speak to Graham, we're going to do what we always do, Holly, and that's acknowledge country, or do our acknowledgement to country. And this is really important, and every time we do this, I realise more and more the importance of this. So the acknowledgement to Australians' traditional owners and custodians of the country is not only an acknowledgement of them as the traditional owners, but also as the first innovators and carers of this land. So it's very interesting, some of the work we've been doing at Australian National University, we actually compared all of the Indigenous culture pre-1788 and more recently, and matched it up with the SDGs.
Wow. Okay.
And guess what it said?
What did it say?
All of the SDGs were actually being met by our Australian Indigenous culture.
Oh, it's interesting, isn't it?
It really is. So what we have is not only Australia's oldest culture, but Australia's oldest culture in terms of implementing sustainable principles on the planet. So we've got a real heritage in Australia, and as a group of students and schools, not only in Australia, but Mauritius, India, Singapore, we have the opportunity to now continue that heritage for the whole planet. So to start today, we thought we'd invite a very special guest who's from Questacon, Professor Graham Durant, because Graham was here for the very first of these broadcasts 2 years ago.
He was.
Graham, I was wondering if you could join us.
Hello Ian, hello Holly, hello everybody else. Welcome to the Young Person's Plan for the Planet in 2019.
2019.
2019.
I guess, Graham, 2 years ago when we had our first broadcast here, you probably didn't anticipate we'd be here this quickly.
No, I think it's going very, very well. It's really taken off in a spectacular fashion, and I'm very delighted that it's proved to be such a successful program for young people, and connecting them, harnessing their passion, and getting them thinking about the future and building a plan, because there are some interesting challenges and opportunities ahead, and we want our young people to play a role, and we want want our young people to build a community planet-wide to address some of these issues. Can I show you a picture?
I was hoping you would.
So, this is a very famous picture. This was taken just over 50 years ago, when I was about your age. So I would have been coming up the and this was taken from the Apollo 8 mission. And it's the first time that we've had this photograph of Earth really rising above the moon. So as the spaceship was going around the moon, it came towards the Earth. And it was really the first time that people started to see the Earth as really a very fragile ecosystem. And everybody ever lived has lived on that little blue and white dot. And all of humanity over, thousands, millions of years, and all the dinosaurs and all the other creatures have lived on that little space, that little planet floating in space. And it's a special year for us this year because it's the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. And when we go into space, we can look back on Earth and actually see what is needed to be done. And it is a fragile ecosystem that we're all on, we share, and we have to manage it. And to manage it, we need a plan. And that's where you guys come in.
Well, I just happen to have here, Graham, the first Young's Plan for the Planet, and we're now developing, we've already got the Young Merchants Plan for the Planet. We're already developing, and a lot of the schools have developed the state plans within Australia. We're developing regional plans, and we were working in the conference on the first international plan. So it's quite interesting because we not only have one plan, but we have a cascading set of plans that work from national down to state, down to regional, and then from national to international, that all actually fit together to achieve exactly what you're talking about, which is a managed planet to achieve long-term sustainability.
Yeah, so I think over the next few years, the project will continue to grow, and with the passion and enthusiasm of you young people, the world's in a good shape. If you can get your act together, we can facilitate your discussions, but it's your plan, it's your future. So get out there, give it all you've got, and come up with a really solid plan that we can then help you promote. And I think it gives us great reason for hope and optimism as we look forward into the future.
You know what else we're doing this year, Graham? We've actually introduced a delivering the plan component.
Well, that's pretty exciting.
It really is exciting. So all of the work done on the plan the last 2 years will in fact go into special, what we're calling them is SDG challenge projects.
Okay, well, that sounds really interesting.
And we've teamed up with Curtin University, and last year Shenton College actually ran this, and we're going to have a look at some of their videos on what they actually did, so that the program will now move from developing a plan, identifying key areas that the students want to work on, and turning those into projects which they'll actually implement. So we've taken a couple of key steps this year, both going international but also delivering the plan.
Yeah, and it's great. We're very proud that it's come out of Australia, that's from the Australian National University in Questacon, and we hope that the program will continue to grow.
And have Ravi Gandhi Science Centre in Mauritius. We have the Science Centre in Singapore, and we're looking forward to working with our Indian teams as well. And we're looking at a few other countries. So thank you for joining us for the welcome, Graham.
And well done, Holly. It's a good job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Graham. So let's talk about our program for today, Holly. We've got a couple of things, as we mentioned. The first one is an interview with Tiana O'Donnell, who's from Future Earth.
Okay.
And Future Earth, as you probably know, is one of the sponsors of the program. Right. It was from the original Future Earth conference that this concept actually emerged. But Future Earth have been doing some great work at actually promoting the SDGs amongst primary school students. So we're going to have a look at one of their videos that they've produced. We're going to have a chat to Tiana, and talk about the work she's doing and the work Future Earth is doing. Then we're going to be talking about how the program will work this year, a little bit more about that turning plans into action, and also, that was just Graham leaving, and also the whole collaboration between countries. So that's an important part of developing global competencies, working out how to work with other countries, how to interact with other students, and understanding the issues from their perspective. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the state, national and international plans, and I think that's going to keep us busy.
It sounds like
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Well, should we get to it then?
Look, I think we should.
Alrighty.
So let's first of all have a look at the video that's been produced by Future Earth, and then we'll have a chat to Tiana.
Sounds great.
If you could do anything in the whole world, what would it be?
Inventor. I like to be an inventor. Scientist. Ninja.
We talked to our ninjas about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Do you think boys and girls should be able to do the same types of jobs?
Definitely.
Why should all kids get to go to school?
So they can learn.
Why do we need to learn?
So we know things when we grow up. 9 plus 9. We won't know what that is. That's 18.
The Sustainable Development Goals are the United Nations agenda to transform our world by 2030.
No poverty. 0 hunger. Good health and well-being.
What I'm going to get you to do is say to me what's written on your shirt.
Quality education. Gender equality. Clean water and sanitation. Affordable and clean energy. Decent work and economic growth. Industry, innovation and infrastructure. Reducing inequality. Sustainable cities and communities. Responsible consumption and production. Climate action.
Life below water.
I'm not gonna do it. Life on land. Peace, justice and strong institution. Partnerships for the goals.
The goals may be ambitious, but so are the leaders of tomorrow. Join us in making the world a better place for future generations.
Go.
Life below water.
Nailed it.
Tiana, what a fantastic video. That is brilliant.
Oh,
That is just brilliant. And what was your thinking behind putting that video together?
They are amazing, aren't they, our young people? We at Future Earth, as you know, work to identify ideas or ways to bring together multiple sectors and stakeholders to think through the SDGs, think about how the SDGs relate to each other, and most importantly, think about how we can start to implement the SDGs. And in thinking about that, we very quickly realised that we're Future Earth, not current Earth, and we need to be thinking about our future leaders, which are the people that you saw in that video. They're primary school children. The youngest was 4 and the oldest was 11. And so by 2030, those young people will be coming into their own. They'll be close to being adults or well on their way to adulthood and starting to live the future that we're imagining and thinking about now. So the idea sort of sprung out of a very left of field, hang on, how are we actually thinking about primary school children as the ones who will live 2030, 2040, 2050, live that future that us old people think about as a future, but really is about you, particularly primary school kids and also high schoolers as well, as you know. So we thought about that, and then we thought, well, let's see how many adults actually know what the SDGs are. Lots of people think about the Sustainable Development Goals. They might not know that there's 17 or what those 17 are. So let's start small and build this up and have our young people tell us what those goals are and how important they are for their future as well as ours.
So it fits really well with the Young Person's Plan for the Planet program, because we're getting all of the primary school students aware, and now there's the opportunity for the high school students to then prepare the plan, expand that on an international basis, so that and actually deliver it. So there's a wonderful synergy here between, and as you said, it is our future generation that is going to not only live this, but make it happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we are so honoured and delighted to have been involved in creating a space for you to develop the Young Person's Plan for the Planet program when you did. It's wonderful to see how it has come to life and is sprouting all around the planet, and wonderful to see where we take this in 2019.
Look, it is, and one thing you mentioned, which I think is still something everybody's getting their head around, and I've got to say it took me a little while, but the Sustainable Development Goals are actually our blueprint for a sustainable future. So almost everything that's happening on the planet really should be aimed at delivering those goals, because that's how we'll achieve sustainability, and we need to achieve sustainability. That picture that Graham showed was so poignant, wasn't it? It changed people's perspective, because everybody realised there was only one planet. And if we mess that up, then we've got a problem. Well, that was a problem then, but now we've actually got a roadmap, which is the SDGs.
Yes.
And we've got students and children and the next generation getting engaged.
Yeah, it is wonderful. And I think what's special about the SDGs is that they were developed by people from all around the world. They built on the Millennium Goals, and they were really, when they developed the SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals, the people who were doing that work represented a diversity of people from around the planet, and took into account all of those very important perspectives that sometimes can get missed when us older folk get together and have a chat, if I may be so bold. And so when we think about it as a blueprint...
Holly's actually representing...
The development of those goals took a number of years.
Exactly.
And it was really with that multiple perspectives in mind when they put them together. So it's not someone, at the UN decided we're going to create these things. It was a very inclusive, co-designed process, thinking about all of those perspectives and how important it is to bring everybody along on a journey to realise it.
And I mean, really, it's actually more than just the 17 goals, because within that, there's over 200 indicators, I think.
Yeah.
And I think, as we've discussed previously, it is all very interlinked and related to one another. So I think it was really sort of great to see some of the kids there with their enthusiasm. And I noticed your badge has changed colours now.
Yes, absolutely. This is the 2018 Young Person's Plan for the Planet. And guess what colour it is?
Well, it's red, but that's the... number 1, isn't it? No poverty.
That's right. So for the next 16 years, and our team at Future Earth actually sponsored our badges. For the next 16 years, every year it will be a different colour, and it'll be the next goal. The colour will be the next goal. So all of our students will then be able to accumulate their badges as alumni, etc. So yes, and if you haven't got your badge from last year, make sure you do. And if you're on the program this year, make sure you get your badge at the end of the year to highlight to everybody all the great work you've done. So Holly, what do you think as because we've been talking to the sort of older generation here, but as representing the younger generation about the future and about Future Earth, what's your view on how it's all developing?
I mean, I think as I've previously mentioned on these sort of episodes, the great thing we see is we've got all this sort of cross-cultural collaboration between people. And I think a lot of issues we've sort of had in the past is to do with people not understanding one another, their viewpoints and whatnot. And here we've got this opportunity to sort of just come together, brainstorm, put something together that applies to everybody and do it as a team, which I think is really fantastic because there's a lot of work to be done, but we're doing it together.
It's a really good point. And I noticed that Future Earth, because we're talking about Future Earth Australia initially, but Future Earth spans all countries as well, Tiana, and you've got a, let me see, developing a very, let me say, proactive global agenda on promoting a sustainable future Earth. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Future Earth Global Network links scientists with civil society, industry and government as primary stakeholders to work through issues on sustainability. Not just the issues and the challenges, but also the opportunities for innovation and transformation. And so it's a vast network. I think at last count there was something like 40,000 odd scientists and other researchers involved globally.
Probably better not to say odd scientists.
That's true.
But it's okay. We know what you mean.
Approximately, let me rephrase. Approximately 40,000
Okay.
scientists involved.
Brilliant scientists.
I'm an odd scientist. I will self-declare that. But so it's a vast network, and it spans both the hard sciences as well as the social sciences and the humanities. So it really, as a network, it is seeking to break down those silos and bring people together, much in the same way that the Young Person's Planet program does. So we are seeing globally a shift, I think, towards that collaboration, co-design and disruption of the way we've done things before, and how we can do things better, more efficiently, and take that towards transformation, not just an incremental step in a direction that we think we might want to go in, but actually change the world.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting, Kana, because I'm going to show a slide a little bit later that you'll probably be interested in as well. But it talks about all of the different levels of technological and cognitive or thinking innovation over the last 200 to 300 years. And the final one it gets to is sustainability. And it's really interesting because the more work I've done with this, the more I've worked with the students, the more I've come to realise that our highest level of development is in fact a time when we can actually be completely sustainable with our environment. That is the highest level, because before that, if we're not sustainable, we're sort of going to go on a downhill path. But once we hit sustainability with all of the wonderful things we have on the planet, but we can also make those sustainable, then we've actually hit that pinnacle. And when I mentioned our Indigenous culture in Australia, that's actually the point they reached. So we've got a wonderful shoes to fill as we work together with our Indigenous community, but also with our Australian community and with our international community to hit that point. So I think it's going to be a pretty exciting 2019.
Yes, I would agree with that. Very
Absolutely.
So.
Look, thank you so much for joining us today, Tiana, and we look forward to working together in partnership moving forward, and particularly with you focusing on those students in primary school, our students looking at developing the plan and now implementing the projects. I think we can change the world.
I think we can too, and we're a great team to do it.
I think so. Thank you so much for joining us. What we're going to do now is have a look at some of the work that some of the students are already doing to change the world, to actually take their plans and implement. So some of the students at Shenton College over in Western Australia last year took their plans and started turning them into action. So we're going to have a look at that now. Then we're going to have a talk about how the program will work this year so that all of the students can actually be developing projects as well as their plans. And then we're going to do a little wrap-up. So thank you again, Tiana. We really appreciate all of your work, all of your support, and the fantastic work Future Earth's doing not only in Australia but also around the country.
And likewise, Future Earth appreciates all the fantastic work you're doing with the program too. It's wonderful.
And the students.
And
Thank
the
you.
students. It's all about you.
So let's have a look at that video. So that was great, wasn't it?
Oh, I love that. It was really, really lovely to hear from her.
It really is, and it's quite interesting because all of the work that Tiana and the team are doing at Future Earth just goes straight into that video. Now, that video was actually made by the students.
Oh, really?
That's right, at Shenton College over in Western Australia.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
That was part of their projects to actually deliver the SDGs. So they looked at the quality education and said, what can we do? And they developed and started delivering on that project. So that was just one of the projects. So what I'm going to do now, Holly, is just explain how the program will work this year and how all of the students in all of the schools can not only be developing their plans but turning them into projects.
Ideas into action.
Turning SDG plans into action. Absolutely.
Sounds
so
good.
let's just skip through the slides and I'll just show you a quick summary of, let me see, the key things we'll be focused on this year. So we'll be building on the success of last year's international program with the national and international plans. We'll be using our strategic planning framework and international collaboration. And the focus this year will be to build plans for each local government area, as well as our state plans, which we're just finalising from last year, and our international plan. We'll be turning those plans into action projects, and we'll be working with international countries. So we've listed some of them here. So they'll be India, Mauritius, Singapore, and we've got a number of countries in both the Western Pacific Rim and also the, Indian Ocean Rim countries. So we've just mentioned a couple of those there. The focus of the program will be, is on the next slide. And what we'll be doing is actually going through the same process, the same components as last year. So discover, we'll use the same discovery form. We'll build and prioritise and focus on the key areas, combine, then we'll engage and communicate those local government plans. So the benefit of developing a local plan is that it's much easier for our students this year to work with their local councils, to work with local communities, so that when we actually deliver the projects, they'll be able to see the results because they'll be immediate. And we're going to look at another video in a sec about how some of the students have done that in that Shenton area.
Great.
And then the important part about this will be the collaboration. So we'll go from sustainable development goals, build the plan, and then we're into deliver the plan, which is really about SDG challenge projects. Now, as I mentioned to Tiana, we've teamed up with Curtin University, who already have quite a sophisticated program. So as the students over the last 2 years have learned how to do strategic planning, so this is a real skill that you can use whatever you're doing. This year you'll also be learning about project development and project management. So as students would understand, you can take that anywhere, whatever job you're going to be doing in future. So we've now got two key components to the program: develop the plan, build. The next one is deliver, and this will be really taking 3 project ideas from the SDGs in your area. So we don't tackle all 17 of them. We use exactly the same approach that we took with the translating the 17 SDGs, each SDG into 4 priority areas. We're taking the top project ideas from the 17 SDGs and picking up to 3 challenge projects.
It sounds like the 80-20 principle, isn't it?
It is exactly the 80-20
I
principle.
thought so.
So if you take 17 goals and divide it by 20%, you get a bit over 3, but we decided we settle on 3. So yes, we're using exactly the 80-20 rule again.
Great, breaking it down.
Exactly, and what all of the students were saying was how good that was, because it took all of these ideas and brought it down into very specific areas that they could actually do something on.
Yeah, well, that's very helpful, isn't it? Otherwise we could just spread ourselves too thin.
Well, it's interesting because when I first talked to actually some of our top scientists in Australia, and we said we're going to tackle all 17 SDGs, they said, oh, we think that's a bit hard. You should really focus on one or two. And I said, no, well, there's not much point in that because they're all interconnected. So we focus on this one, we don't focus on that one, this one gets worse, makes this one, so we go backwards. So the interesting thing was I was able to go back to them last year and say, you know how you said that 17 was too hard? All of our students have actually tackled the 17, nailed them and actually translated them into plans. And that's just using the strategic planning principles and the Pareto principle, that 80-20 rule. So we'll be using exactly that this year to pick the top 3 projects that you're going to be looking at. 3? Yep, got it. It's always difficult. 3 projects. And then there's all the skills base actually in the computer technology, computer program that will take all of the students through developing the project and turning it into action. And one of the actual delivery components is actually making a video about it, which is what we saw with that last video. So the next one is the collaboration component of this. And as I said, Singapore, Mauritius, India, Australia, and more countries to come as more countries get excited, and all linked into the Cisco Digital Schools Network. So that means that this year will feature the component we looked at the end of last year, which is actually a monthly call where all of the students can link in and talk about ideas. So not only load up their ideas onto the website so everybody can see them and learn from each other, but also be able to talk and collaborate. And because of the international nature of Cisco, it means we can get Mauritius talking with Australia, with Singapore, and some of our schools in, in Victoria are already mentoring one of our schools in India.
Wow, and this is all student-led, isn't it?
It is all student-led. So I keep emphasising this, and I said it at the conference in Mauritius, that we set up the structures, as Graham was saying, and the frameworks, but it's all student-led. So it really is students and young people designing the future of our future Earth.
Fantastic.
It is. So the last slide I wanted to show you is just a summary of the skills that all of the students are learning. So as we go from the goals to the program and then down to delivery, the key skills are learning sustainable development goals. So all of our students come out understanding those. Key STEM skills, research, science, learning all of how all of those apply to sustainability. The whole concept of research and evaluation of ideas. Challenge-based learning. So as we've said in the beginning, we don't give any prescription to the students on how to do this. We throw the challenge at them, but what we've learned over the last 2 years, it's probably the best team in the world to actually throw the challenge to because they've grasped it and run with it.
I agree.
Strategic planning, which is quite a sophisticated skill. So whatever career you move into, if you can sit back and demonstrate strategic planning skills, it'll be a big tick for your career. Global citizenship, this is something that UNESCO is promoting, and as Tiana was saying, that ability, and you were saying in fact, that ability to work together as a team is critical.
Absolutely.
And then the last part, which is the piece we're adding this year, is the SDG challenge projects, and that's development and implementation. So yes, we're saving the planet, but at the same time, students are learning a lot of skills. And these are all the skills that it actually takes. And I just wanted to show you one more slide, which I promised to Tiana. So this is actually the innovations of technology. And you can see that 6th wave here is in fact the sustainability wave.
Okay.
And this is in fact the most important wave, because we can have all of the other ones, but if we can't make this all sustainable, and it sort of starts to turn a corner and go downhill, then that's a problem. And we're already seeing some issues, you know, on climate change, on, water quality, on Great Barrier Reef in Australia. So there's a lot of issues we actually have to go from, you know, a little bit of a problem area and turn it into something that we can actually make sustainable, because we want the Great Barrier Reef to be as great for future generations as it is for us.
Exactly.
In Australia, the whole Darling River system, which has been really hit with a number of issues recently, lots of deaths of fish, we want that to be back and completely sustainable, as it's been for hundreds to thousands of years. So we've got a real challenge here, but we've got a fantastic opportunity, and all of our students are learning the skills to be in that future thinking mode that's actually going to change the planet.
Do you know what probably underpins all of those skills that we saw before? Leadership and initiative.
It is really true.
It is, isn't it?
And innovation.
Exactly. Because we are really just throwing it out there we're giving them the tools, but they're doing the work.
Absolutely. And not just doing it brilliantly. That's what we've seen over the last 2 years, and that's what we're excited about, what's coming up this year. So why don't we have a look at another video on some of the work done last year with the Shenton School, Shenton College, sorry, and this was actually looking at the SDG on food. So let's see what the Shenton students came up with their SDG Challenge project. Over to you, Shenton. Pretty brilliant, isn't it?
God, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, absolutely, and these are just two of the projects developed by the team in Shenton. And all of the skills that they learnt to actually take those SDGs and turn them into projects and a video to show what they were doing are all part of the Young Person's Plan for the Planet this year.
I can't believe it's young people that are doing this. Well, actually, you know what? I can.
Yeah, hold it.
I was going to say.
You're one of those young people.
Well, I am, aren't I?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But I would say I feel like young minds are really sort of overlooked when it comes to these big sort of decision and ideas sphere.
Look, that's what so many of our students were saying, that they feel overlooked or felt overlooked. And part of the Young Person's Plan for the Planet program has actually given them not only recognition as having the ability, but a voice to say what they think about the future and design it with the Young Person's Plan for the Planet. We'll get stuck down there. But also now actually turn it into action. And the biggest piece of feedback we got last year was all of the students saying, look, this is great developing these plans, but we want to get involved in action. And so this year it's all about action, but also linking back to the plan, so it's not just action that's happening all over the place and not coordinated, but action that links back to a bigger plan of how we can actually turn our planet into a completely sustainable planet. And that's the most important project on the planet at the moment, and all of our students are involved in that.
It means they're very much walking the talk, aren't they?
Absolutely. Projecting the talk. Maybe.
Something
no,
like
yeah,
that.
something like that. I think that's another very good one. So I want to talk about two more things, Holly, and then we probably better close up. I think we're almost there. So first one is International Conference 3. So we had our It's Our Future Earth Conference 2 in Mauritius, and these are just some of the photos from that conference. And that's planned for November 2019. With the location still to be determined, but it's pretty exciting. So students from all of our countries will have the opportunity to be selected to actually attend the conference, and each of the schools will select those students based on their work this year. So that's pretty exciting. As part of our projects, there's prizes to actually acknowledge all of the work that the students have done for the best projects. So what are the next steps for the next couple of months? Firstly, make sure all of the schools submit the expressions of interest forms and the student lists. Now the student lists have all of the student emails on them, and those emails get loaded up into the Plan for the Planet website and the Project Challenge website, and that means that all the students then have access to the full website and all of the teaching information. The second one is we're finalising the state and international plans for the planet, because we started the international plan at Mauritius and we need to now complete that, turn that into our first international Young Person's Plan for the Planet, and, most important bit, start building those plans, those local area plans, turning them into projects, and actually start to have some fun turning plans into action. So that's the last point we wanted to finish on. This is all about learning, but it's also about having fun, saving the planet. Because when we have fun, we enjoy it more. That's right, that's right. We may as well enjoy this because it's an exciting journey. So we're absolutely delighted that you're all able to join us from Australia, Mauritius, India, Singapore, and all of the new countries we're going to have joining. Holly, thanks for being part of this.
Thank you, Ian.
Too much fun.
Absolutely. We'll see you next month.
Next month, we've got our next session, and what we'll be doing is walking through in each of our programs the key steps. So today I summarised it. Next time we'll be talking again about that discovery mode, that first part where you go out and look at each of the SDGs and how to actually start to pin that down into priorities before building the first part of the plan. So throughout the year we'll focus on each of the stages so we can explain it, and that'll fit with how you actually develop a plan and then turn it into projects. So look, I think that's it for today.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you very much, Ian. And thank you everybody else.
And thanks, Tanyana. And thanks, Graham, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next time.